Gauteng Finance MEC Jacob Mamabolo has outlined key priorities of the provincial treasury. Mamabolo stated that the department will use its 818 million rand budget for the 2023-24 financial year to improve the management of public funds. On the agenda is also the expansion of service delivery and facilitating economic growth. The MEC also gave feedback on the progress being made in bringing to life a state-owned bank and a pharmaceutical company, as Ntokozo Khumalo reports.
Well, Gauteng is channeling its 2023-2024 budget towards projects that will continue to see the province achieve economic development as well as uplift more and more people, specifically within the township economy. And for a little bit more detail, I am now joined by the MEC of Economic Development, Tasneem Motara. Thank you so much for talking to us. Now, a huge talking point specifically for Gauteng is around the township economy, that we're not just building a township economy that's full of retail and malls and so on, but, you know, real businesses that are sustainable. Talk us through what the Gauteng province is doing and your department specifically in growing the township economy.
Thanks so much for having me. Well, look, we're doing quite a lot. The first fact to accept is that there is an economy in the township. And what does it need? So it needs support, it needs infrastructure, different support could be funding. Access to markets is a big issue for any business, more for township businesses. And then it just needs to be assisted with broad enablements. So for instance, how do we assist township businesses and the township economy withstand the load shedding, and what is it doing to them? So we've not necessarily introduced businesses and an economy that doesn't exist. It's just about giving the adequate support, and we're doing that through various mechanisms. So for instance, rentals in the township, backyard rentals, is an economy. How do you formalize that? So we've entered into a partnership with Newzroom. What they do is based on the value of your property. If you've had back rooms and you've got space, you can apply to them for funding, and they upgrade that space. So proper, real structures that add value to your property. So not just some informal backyard, it's actual proper rooms, and then they manage tenants and leases for you on your behalf for the duration of the payback period. And then after that, you have tenants, you've got tenants, properly managed leases. We've taught you about the industry of property, rentals, and what is related to that, how to properly manage. But in that, you've increased the value of your property. So that's one aspect. Another aspect is there's a lot of informal manufacturing that takes place in the townships of this and that, you name it, you find it there. We've got partnerships with ITC for manufacturing. We also contribute directly with funding. And then the big one is the access to market. How do we address access to market? The Premier has said to us 60% of our budget must be spent on the townships, our goods and services budget. So that's your initial access to market, a market that you wouldn't have ordinarily had if you were not well equipped, if you were not well compliant. So we're bringing all those bodies on board to help you with compliance, SABS, etc., 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 and then link that with the budget spent on goods and services across every single department, ultimately culminating in what provincial government would spend.
And you mentioned load shedding, and of course there wouldn't be economy, if we don't have, sustainable power. Talk us through the projects that you have in the pipeline and kicking off around renewable energy and finding alternative sources of energy to get the province less reliant on the grid.
So we've had a number of conversations with people who are willing to come on board and assist us. We're looking at a donation dispensation to be able to deal with that. So while we finalize those details, we just looking at what kind of products are out there. Do they necessarily have the ability and capacity to build that infrastructure in the shortest possible space of time, and then donate the asset to the province. The second is one that has been long in the making, and that is the solar farm out in the West Rand. part of our SEZs, not directly, of course indirectly, it will support that. We're looking at 1,000 megawatts that it can produce. It's going to produce adequate energy for the SEZ, but